Hi, I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation. Today's topic is list the things that are hurting your marriage. Welcome back. I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation. And today's topic is about doing some introspective work, looking at yourself and your marriage as a whole so that you can heal these things. I'm not a Western psychologist. I don't believe in giving people, assigning them phobias, calling people this or calling them that. I don't agree with blaming one spouse or the other spouse because that isn't what helps a marriage transform. And if you're looking for marriage help, what you really are looking for is what you had in the very beginning. You had a thirst, a craving for happiness and love. It's perfectly natural for human beings to find one another and identify as soulmates because that's what you are, and then cultivate those things that create more and more the connection between the two of you. Believe it or not, it's as simple as that. So I used to be a divorce mediator. That was back in 2001. And a couple asked me to help them save their marriage. And of course, I stupidly said, sure, but it wasn't stupid. I don't know why I shouldn't have, technically speaking, but I agreed and I did a deep dive into what marriage is really all about. And the discoveries that I made were mind-boggling. So the couples counselors, the therapists who used to send me my business as a divorce mediator, later on, about 8 or 9 years later on, became my students because I created a new approach to marriage help. The non-traditional approach to marriage help that focuses on the positives and shoots for what we really want from our marriage. Traditional marriage counseling is all about assigning blame, asking who did this, who did that, why, maybe saying, well, you need some help in this area. And I discovered that those things really don't help a marriage one bit. And the proof of that actually is in the fact that in 2001, the divorce rate was about 50%. The unhappiness rate was about 85 or 90%. No one knows for sure. And today, the divorce rate is about 50%. And the unhappiness rate is about the same too. And what have the traditionalists been using all these years? They've been using the same things they're using today that they used then, and in fact for almost 100 years, and it just doesn't work. So what I came up with is, okay, let's decide we're going to make our marriage amazing. We're going to recapture the moment, you might say. And the moment that I'm talking about is the moment when you first met or when you first realized this is the one. And there was this burst of light and love that came from your heart. You see, love transcends the mind. It transcends thoughts. It transcends feelings, because feelings are emotions. The true feeling that binds a marriage together is the feeling of love. It's very deep. Love is very deep. It's not, as they say, increased like. It's not an attraction. It's a very deep connection. To be honest with you, and this is not a religious discussion, it's the one commodity of God's that we crave. We crave love. Think about it. You know, sometimes when we're in a mood or something, and then we get a call from someone who we know loves us and who we love, It uplifts our spirit. And it's all about having that all the time in marriage that defines a marriage as being successful. You know, people use the terms healthy marriage or toxic marriage. There's really no such thing. It's either clicking on all 8 cylinders, a male term I know. It's either really working or it isn't. And it's really working not determined by how well you're doing, but by the direction that you're infusing into the marriage. Let me explain that a little bit. Everything really that matters is based on intention. You know, we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And so if our intention is good and we do something that is bad, we run into the effect, because it's a cause and effect world that we live in. And then we make a correction. But if the intention isn't clearly good, then we run into problems one after another. So intentions, and this is important stuff that I'm going to talk about right now. Intentions come before ideas, thoughts, speech, and behavior. Intention is everything. So if you have defined your intention to build your connection with your spouse, and how do you do that? We'll get into that. But if you define that intention, you can't go wrong. And then you don't have to worry about the mistakes you've made. You don't have to worry about the mistakes they made. You don't have to condemn them for the mistakes they made, the wrong things they said, the wrong actions they took, even the big mistakes like betrayals, which are so common in this world today. So how do you do this? How do you do it? Well, it's kind of 2 parts. One part is eradicating from your mind those thoughts that get you into trouble. And this is where you begin to make your list of things you don't want to do in your marriage. You begin with your thoughts. So if you have thoughts, for instance, of, oh, I'm going to get back at her for that, or I'm going to get back at him for that. Whoa, that's not a good thought. You don't have those thoughts with your soulmate and end up in a good place. Yet those thoughts are normal in the world, but your marriage is not in or of the world, you see. And this is what defines marriage so beautifully. You know, in the early part of creating the teachings for marriage, which I did, I met with men and women, hundreds of them, for 8 years. And I was looking for an adequate definition of marriage. Because if you look up what is marriage, if you Google it, it doesn't really tell you what marriage is. So finally I came up, and this is just one of my definitions. I said, and I say, marriage is an individual spiritual path that 2 people take together. Why? Because a spiritual path means that you're seeking the highest wisdom. And what is the highest wisdom? The highest wisdom is love. And if you're on that path, and it doesn't even matter if your spouse or your partner is or isn't, because we get off and on this path to various degrees from time to time. But if we recognize that what we're seeking is love, then our intention is to infuse our marriage with love, which will inspire our partner to reciprocate, and it starts building. One of my books, I wrote 2 books early on. My first book is Lessons for a Happy Marriage. Very simple. It has saved thousands of marriages, but it's very simple. Lessons for a Happy Marriage is kind of a step-by-step guide. Then later on, I wrote a deeper book called Breaking the Cycle, because I noticed that when there's a marriage going bad, what happened is the couple has gotten into tit for tat, hitting back, reacting. And it's a cycle that goes down, and it trends down. And so you need to break that cycle and then reverse that cycle to where you are building. Now, if it goes down far enough, then I highly recommend you take a look at a course. We have online courses which are marvelous, and you could take a look at our reviews. And they're separated. One is for men and one is for women. And that's because the men don't need their wife to participate when they want to heal their marriage. And the wife doesn't need her husband to participate when she wants to transform the marriage. I found this early on, and I found it quite accidentally. What happened was I started with couples counseling because that's what everybody believes works. And I went, my God, this is like crazy. What happened was I found that the women were flirting with me. I was a lot younger and prettier back then, but they were flirting with me, not because I was some handsome dude, but because they wanted me to be on their side. And the men were connecting with me, again, for the same reason. And that caused a disturbance in the room. And then what happened was they started competing for who was the better spouse. Well, I did this, and look what you did. Look how you responded to that. It was like a war zone. It was insane. And it was very hard to stabilize. Also, no one was honest. Nobody was on. They were ashamed of what they had done, what they had thought, what they had felt. And I talked to my psychologist friends, and I said, hey, I'm discovering this is like, what's going on here? And they said, oh, yeah, couples counseling doesn't work. We just give them a chance to talk it out, and we try to mediate, and we try to help them resolve. And I'm thinking, that's not going to work. So I broke it off, and I'd meet with a couple in the beginning, and then I would say, okay, you, ma'am, you and I should meet. Your husband is not ready, really? Well, you and I meet, and we'll transform your marriage. Or, sir, you and I should meet. Your wife isn't ready. Or both of them, let's meet individually. And that worked. And so that's what became our courses, our online courses, one for men and one for women, and highly successful. Now, part of what's in the course is, this is not a spoiler alert. I mean, there's a big process to learning how to shift our reality, to shift our perceptions. If you do the work of kind of listing the things that you have done wrong today or yesterday, not earlier than yesterday, but today or yesterday, what are the things that you did wrong that weren't beneficial to your marriage? Make a list and then avoid those things consciously. Like, for instance, you could say, well, I reacted, and okay, far enough. Hold off on the rest of the list. Write down, no more reacting. I'm going to have a non-reactive life from now on. Watch how often you catch yourself and stop yourself, and watch how much that alone impacts the quality of your relationship. It's really amazing. Now, I could get into the nuts and bolts of that in teaching the therapists how to work with what I've come up with, I go into the nuts and bolts and I explain the psychology behind it, and I explain the physiology behind the psychology and the instincts that drive it all, but just so they know. But you don't need to know all that. All you need to know is I'm too reactive. I got to stop. Or could be, and this is the case for many people, I don't know why, but I lied to her or I lied to him. I didn't have to. And then you go, okay, I'm never going to speak an untruth to my soulmate ever again. And it's just a place to start, to list the things that you do that bring unhappiness into your marriage. Because then you want to start going the other way. You know, what are the things that I do? But start with, what do I do that's corrupting our marriage? It's a very important step. It's a very important step. So, at any rate, at the Marriage Foundation, our whole thing is to help you transform your marriage. Not just fix this or fix that. That actually doesn't work much. You know, you read these magazine articles about, you know, my husband never picks up after himself. What should I do? I don't care what you do. But whatever you do, do it with love. And that's the point. So I'm going to part with you now. Now, you could write into us anytime you want. There's a Ask a Counselor free thing that we have if you want some private help. Or in the comments section here, people can write in. You could write in and ask me, and I'll respond directly to you about what you can do in a particular situation. Usually it comes down to a very simple thing with I share, but you know, read one of my books at a minimum. If your marriage is in deep trouble, get the course. It's set up to be, it's very reasonably priced, and we have plans where you could get it for under $10 a week. I mean, you can't beat that. So you pay $39.95, or you could pay it off all at once. It doesn't matter. But the point is, if let's say, for instance, you pay $39.95 for a month, you can't get counseling for that. And trust me, you'll get way more from the course than you ever will from counseling. So anyway, I'm Paul Friedman again. I founded the Marriage Foundation. I'm so glad that you stopped by. We're here to serve you. We're here to help you. That's what we want to do. So God bless you. And if you got some value from this, you know, of course, like the video, but also share it. Share it on social media or share it with a friend. Most of the people who come to us for the course say they found us on YouTube and they like what they heard from me, and I'm the one who gives the course, or a friend told them about us, and usually it's a friend who has taken the course. Or lately we actually get a lot from ministers or priests. You know, the thing about what we're doing here at the Marriage Foundation is it's really focused on the positive way to turn your marriage into the golden love and joy that you signed up for. God bless you. Thank you, and take care.